Hello, welcome to our new episode of Dear Dr. Mal for the month of June. This month, we are tackling the topic of the biggest myth about shedding pounds, why exercise alone won't result in weight loss. There is a reason. If you are trying to lose weight, your first impulse might be to take on aggressive workout routines, but guess what? It won't lead to weight loss. People who are very physically active do not necessarily burn more calories than moderately active people. In fact, exercise is beneficial for health, strength, and emotional well-being. However, when it comes to weight loss, it's almost entirely about what you eat. Knowing this doesn't necessarily mean that you should trade in your workout sneakers for meal prepping instead, but it does mean more awareness for a better lifestyle formula. Dr. Mao is going to spend this next hour breaking down for you what you need to strategize about metabolism, digestion, exercise, stress, and more, so that you can map out a successful June plan to achieve your weight loss goals and welcome in summer. So once again, we would like to welcome you, Dr. Mao, for being with us this evening. We're so excited to have you. It's a terrific month. You've been traveling the last couple of months, so we get you live for June.
Wow, it's always exciting to, get on live and answer questions live. And so this is great. Thanks for tolerating my travel schedules. But anyway, I promise to be home for a little while. Yeah.
We love
so
you.
Anyway, yeah. So, so what we have here is I'm just going to put in my power. I apologize. Just make sure that don't run out of battery here.
Okay.
All right, good. Yeah, we're charged. Okay. Well,
okay. Let's talk about this. The summer's here now. What does this mean? And what is going to be different about this episode from some of our previous episodes with weight loss?
I think we are going to be talking about, when you talk about weight loss, people talk about dieting all the time. I mean, the dieting and exercise. Those are the two main things that people, focus on. And while that works for many people, there are people who I hear all the time from patients, Doc, I eat really well. I exercise an hour a day and I don't lose any weight. I just can't seem to get the pounds off. And so, so with these people, no matter what you do as far as diet and exercise, it's not moving the dial. That's extremely frustrating. And this is where we really need to focus and look at, the causes of weight gain. Why is your body kind of holding on to the weight? And so we now look at, organ function, we look at systemic function, we look at how you're metabolizing. I mean, I think that's very important. It is a fact, and it's a depressing fact, that every decade after age 30, your metabolism slows down by 10% every decade. And so that means 1% a year. So if you're 50, you're now metabolizing at 20% slower than you were at 30. And that is the reason why you can eat the same amount of food that you did at 30, meaning you haven't changed your eating habit, but you're now gaining weight and you can't lose it. And so technically you have to be eating 20% less food than you did at 30 in order just to break even, maintain it. And that's a depressing thought. And so the idea here isn't so much like, okay, we need to eat less and less, because that's not practical. We need energy, we need food to provide us nutrients. And so under eating is a bad idea when it comes to trying to lose weight. And in fact, people who fast or under eat initially may get that weight to come off a little bit, but then they'll plateau and then they'll start to go up because they slow down their metabolism when they eat less or they stop eating. And so that's not the solution. The solution is to restore your metabolism. And let's understand what metabolism is. So the metabolism is this process by which your body takes in the nutrients, metabolize it, distribute it to all the parts of your body that needs it. All right. And then also break down all the waste products and then eliminate it from the body. This whole process is called metabolism. And in the process of metabolizing, right, you have nutrients, you have carbohydrates that turn to sugar, and you have energy that's stored up in the form of glucose, that's stored up in the liver, stored up in the muscles, and also converted to fat for long-term storage. And so this is metabolism 101. So when your body is metabolizing correctly, there is an even exchange of what you eat and what you spend, meaning in terms of nutrients, calorie expended, and so forth. So there's an even exchange. When there is an uneven exchange, and what that means is that you're taking in more than you are spending. This is the one area where it's not like money, where you should be taking in more than you're spending.
Right.
So you can have enough left over. Well, when it comes to weight loss, you don't want too much left over. You want to make sure you're taking in and burning it and using it up and spending it exactly the same amount. And if you're trying to lose weight, you should be spending more than you're taking in, right? I mean, that's the whole premise.
Right.
And yeah, and so when your metabolism is slow, then whatever you take in burns very slowly. It doesn't get used up as quickly. And therefore you have lots left over, and the leftover ends up in your belly, in your hips, and your thighs, and you just, you're very unhappy about it, And so the metabolism in your body is affected by a number of glands, and we should be discussing about what they are. The first one is your thyroid. Your thyroid gland sits right here in your throat area. There's actually two lobes, one on each side. And the thyroid's function is to regulate your metabolic rate. So that means how quickly your metabolism burns actually is very much regulated and determined by your thyroid function. The other function of thyroid is to regulate your basal body temperature. So your body temp, so whether it's you're a hot person, cold person, when you wake up in the morning, whatever that might be, that is a basal metabolic rate. So what we notice often is if to do an experiment for those people who have a hard time losing weight, no matter what they do, is to go ahead and take your body temperature, basal metabolic rate, before you move in the morning. So you wake up, first thing, open your eyes, don't move, don't get up, don't go to the bathroom, take a thermometer and stick it under your tongue. And then take your temperature, then record it. And record it for a week or two. And what you'll notice is that while normal body temperature is 98.6, your basal metabolic temperature, which is at waking, most likely is dropping close to 97. That's a huge differential to what normal body temperature is. The body has to function at a very narrow band of temperature, and that's very much determined by the thyroid. And in this way, if your temperature drops to 97 or below in the morning, then most likely you have a low functioning thyroid. In other words, it's slow. This is called hypothyroid. Okay, so the thyroid's slow, it's called hypothyroid. And you may go to the doctor, and your doctor might order a blood test, which consists of TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. That is a hormone released from your pituitary, which is the master gland, to the thyroid, TSH. And that will tell the thyroid produce more thyroid hormone in the form of T3 and T4. These two hormones need to be at an ideal level in order for your metabolism to be functioning correctly. And oftentimes we'll see that these hormones, T3, T4 levels, are actually within normal range, but at low normal, at the lower border, right? And because that range is pretty wide. And so when we see that, and when we see the basal metabolic temperature is low, 97 or below, and we see the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, the signal coming from your pituitary, your thyroid, to your thyroid, is that number is it actually needs to remain between 1 and 2. And a lot of people have their TSH in the 2s and 3s, even though that's still within normal range. That also indicates low thyroid. So with low thyroid, hypothyroid that is, and your doctor will say, there's nothing wrong with thyroid because you're within normal range. But when I look at it and I go, no, you have subclinical hypothyroid, and what that means is that despite the fact that you're within this range, this band, but you're actually very sluggish. You're low. You're not optimum, and that's what we're talking about, optimum, especially when you're trying to lose weight. And so what are the solutions to picking up your thyroid? Well, obviously there's synthetic thyroid hormone you can take in the form of Synthroid. There's also natural thyroid, such as Armour Thyroid, Nature Thyroid, and a few other makers of natural thyroid. What they do is they, again, take it from pigs, okay? Pig thyroid, the hormones. Well, it's a synthetic thyroid, like Synthroid is manufactured synthetically. So these are your options to help your body. However, in Chinese medicine, we believe that you need to stimulate your own body's function to restore, so that your body can produce what it needs. So again, using the old saying that you give a man fish and he will eat for 3 days, but if you teach him how to fish, he will eat for life. And that's really the underlying principle of Chinese medicine. So we want to get your thyroid to fire back up naturally. So we will use acupuncture, we will use herbal therapy, and we'll also use a supplement. We have formulated a supplement called Metabolism Boost. Mm-hmm. This is a formulation where we do take from extracts of tissue from New Zealand grass grazing happy organic cows. And remember now, in our parents' days, everybody ate organ meat, right? For thousands of years. And that was just because the fact that people didn't waste anything. But also in Chinese medicine, there's a belief that, in fact, you can derive a lot of benefit if you are looking to strengthen an organ, a gland. Well, you eat that in a healthy animal, not a sick animal. Remember now, factory meat, mostly, the animals live in substandard conditions. That kind of organ meat, I would never touch. But as far as therapeutically, the extracts from the, for example, the thyroid tissue, as well as adrenal, spleen, thymus, pituitary, and then there's also B vitamins in this formulation. And this is a very powerful formulation. By the way, there's actually no hormones in it, because what the vendor that we buy from in New Zealand actually filter out all the hormones that's naturally existing, because what we don't want to do is give you a hormone, and that way, if you have the hormone already, then your thyroid actually gets sluggish and it doesn't produce. We want to encourage your body to do what it knows how to do best. And so by giving you nutritional support and stimulate the functional restoration, we can get your thyroid back up to optimum functioning, and then you've got normal metabolism, and that can burn off your excess weight that you're carrying much easier. So you can be still doing the eating, the right healthy eating, and the exercise, and now you'll notice that your body, you're losing weight because your organ system, your metabolism has sped up so that it can be back to normal. And normal means, 30 years old normal. That's what we want, right? And that's what we all strive to, because then at that point, we remember that, gee, you know what, I energy, my weight was good, I could eat a robust dinner and not have to worry about gaining weight. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about. So.
We were all so entranced with you. I didn't expect you to stop.
Well, I just thought I should stop for, to take some air. Take some air. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about these fad diets more, because it is so prevalent in a lot of people's life, this thing of these trendy diets, of the celery juice diet, we've got many acai bowls. Everybody wants to start their morning with acai bowls. What are your thoughts on that and how that interplays into all of this?
All right. So let's talk about fad diets for a second. So fad diets, they do work, by the way, and that's why they're fad. The only problem is that they work for 2-3 months and then they stop working. And that's also why they're called fads, because people lose interest. They stop working, right? So you can go on for example, what's been very popular for a long time is the Atkins and the paleo diet. These are the higher protein diets. And so they discourage, so it's a high protein, low carbohydrate diet. And with this diet, it's no question, initially you do see the results because you're not taking all this carb, and so there's less sugar in your system, and that sugar doesn't get stored up. And so within the first 3 months, people do see the leaning effect, a lean out effect. So they may lose 10 pounds. And so, but what happened is beyond that, it's not sustainable, because now if you continue this pattern, the weight stabilizes and then you begin to gain the weight back, because ultimately your body need carbohydrates, good carbohydrates. We're talking about whole grains like quinoa, amaranth, oatmeal, brown rice, millet, so forth, whole grains, not refined grains. And we're also talking about a lot of vegetables, beans and legumes and so forth. And your body ultimately metabolize these things a lot faster and easier for energy. And they also fill you up quickly, especially beans and legumes, with lots of fiber. The fiber is also important because fiber traps all the toxins and the cholesterol in your body and pushes out of your body, not to mention that it prevents colon cancer and things of that nature. Fiber also helps to balance blood sugar. So you're talking about people with diabetes. That's really, really important. And so the paleo high protein of the world cannot be sustained either, because at some point the kidney function starts to get impaired, because high protein diets can start to impact the kidney. It's very hard on the kidneys. Plus, the protein metabolizes, and one of the waste products is uric acid. So then uric acid accumulates in different parts of your body, such as your toes and your joints and your feet, and causes gout, for example. So if you have history of gout or family history of gout, that's a problem. And so hard on the kidney, hard on that. And in addition to that, higher protein usually means higher fat. And this diet and low carbohydrate diet tend to actually skew the risk profile to slightly increasing the risk for cancer and things of that nature. So, we want to be mindful that a lot of people come to us because they want to prevent developing these disease that they may be genetically predisposed. And then you have a variation of that, which is the ketogenic diet. So ketogenic diet is also high protein, low carbohydrate, but now you are amping up the fat. Okay, so you're eating a lot more fat here. And that also works too. Like I said, 2-3 months. I mean, you can lose the weight. I see people eat steak and butter and cheese and all this, and they're so happy. They go, oh my God, all the foods that I thought were bad for me, I can eat again. And look, I've lost weight, I feel great and all that. And then it stalls at 3 months. And then they keep doing that. Their cholesterol starts to go back the other way, bad. And then they start to gain the weight back. And the high fat diet for sure is not a good idea long term, because it will increase your risk for cancer. And building and the argument, for the high fat diet is, well, you know what, it's better for you because it burns cleaner, it burns slower because your body has to convert fat to glucose. And so you don't have a lot of glucose floating around in your body. And that may be good for preventing cancer and so forth. And, and while someone is going through chemotherapy and radiation, so forth, I actually advocate for them to have a higher protein, higher fat diet, because they need it. They need the nutrients, they need the weight gain, they need all of that. But it's not sustainable, because as soon as people go off the treatments and now they're on a maintenance preventative mode, we move more towards the plant-based and not a high fat, especially if you think about women with estrogen receptor positive breast cancers. These are cancers caused by too much estrogen. If you got a lot of fat and you're eating a lot of fat and you got a lot of fat in your body, that means you're also increasing your estrogen storage of it. So that's not a good thing. So we got that, and then in more recent, you've got the Gundry diet, for example. Dr. Gundry, similar to Dr. Atkins, they've done their homework, they've done their research, and they feel, each of them have their positions. And Dr. Gundry feels like, well, there is the lectins that are found in beans and grains and so forth that are not good for you, because they increase inflammation. And there's some truth in that in some people who have a lot of inflammation, like arthritis and so forth. They do feel like if they eat high lectin foods, that they can be in more pain. But at the same time, you're cutting out incredible foods that are so beneficial for you. Beans and legumes, everything from black beans, mung beans, garbanzo beans, that's chickpeas, split peas, and soy, in fact, are such great sources of protein with fiber, right? These are plant-based foods. So sources of high sources of high protein in the plants. So you're cutting out huge category of foods that can be very, very good for you. So that's not ideal for some people either. And then you've got the vegan diet. Again, if we're going to talk about diet, let's talk about all the diet. Mm-hmm. And I know that some of our audience out there have heard me talk about vegan diet, just because I have used the vegan diet to help myself in this way. Mm-hmm. And so a generally, let's not go to the extreme and just talk about plant-based diet. Plant-based means a lot of vegetables, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, and that's like 90% your diet, and then maybe 10% you can have a little fish, you can have a little organic chicken if you want, some eggs, and occasionally grass-fed beef, but small amount. That's a plant-based diet for most part. Now, people who are vegan will cut it out completely, all the animal products, and then the vegetarians will still eat dairy products and eggs. And that's the difference, but they won't eat the animals. And so in general, being plant-based, 90% loading up with plants, and then 10%, maybe the animal protein of the world, that would be an ideal diet for people. And if you really are interested in cutting way down your cholesterol, like lower cholesterol, try the vegan diet and try eliminating most of all fats for a short period of time, say 3 months. I guarantee you your cholesterol will plummet, like mine did. I mean, I did that for 3 months, and my cholesterol dropped by 100 points. I mean, really kind of shocking how quickly it just came down. Another word of caution for people who are trying to lose weight by doing the ketogenic diet. I've had plenty of patients who've had developed gallstones and gallbladder attacks. Very, very painful, potentially a surgical condition. Please be careful if you're losing weight rapidly on a ketogenic diet, that you need to monitor your liver and gallbladder to, maybe do an ultrasound to make sure you're not developing gallstones, because that is unfortunately a side effect of doing a high fat, weight loss diet. So just be careful with that. Now, talking about, kind of ways to help you with your metabolism. We talked about that, but the one thing that we talk about in Chinese medicine is that there's all the toxins in your body, and how you eliminate the toxins from your body. Because if you're clogged up with toxins, and then we sure take in so much toxins. I mean, plastics, we take in, not that we eat plastic, but plastics all around us, and it's wrapped, it gets into our food supply and water. And so we know the bisphenol A, the BPA, is really bad for you. Not only causes, hormonal imbalance, but also weight gain too, believe it or not, because that mimics estrogen in the body, which means it'll pack on more fat. And pesticides and herbicides also act like estrogen and formaldehyde and all these environmental toxins. So one of the things I drink every day is this tea called Ancient Treasures tea. And this contains a formula called Internal Cleanse that really helps with clearing out toxins. And when I lost my 20 pounds, I drank this tea 4 cups a day. And by the way, summer is coming up and you can drink this iced. So what I do is I make a tea and then I put it in my bottle and I throw a bunch of ice cubes in there and in the iced tea. And it's naturally sweet without any calories. And it's very, very cleansing. So makes me pee and go to the bathroom a lot. So that's a good thing. And then another thing that I use for my particular case study, but also many of my patients, I have this one guy who came in for 3 months and put him on a good eating program, but more importantly, we got his thyroid up and running, but we also gave him B Slim. And this formula, it's just natural herbs. There's no stimulants in there, but it does help you curb your appetite. And that was the hardest thing when I wasn't using this and I was being vegan. My God, for the first month and a half, if he stood between me and the crackers on that table, I will kill you. I would have killed you because I was so hungry all the time. And then I realized, oh my God, I mean, I forgot. We have this B Slim capsules. I started taking it and my appetite came down and actually I didn't get very hungry anymore. So anyway, doctors forget, right? Sometimes. But certainly many of our patients have benefited from that. And so the guy that I'm telling you about, so in 3 months he lost 30 pounds. I mean, it was very steady. I mean, just the weight came off because he just wasn't as hungry anymore, and his metabolism got picked up. And then some dietary change. I cut out a lot of the fat, unnecessary fat and calories, and the sugar that he was eating, because he wasn't craving the cookies and the ice cream after dinner anymore. And so it was much easier to say no, and that really made all the difference. And then having a healthy microbiome is so important. We've talked about this in other sessions in the past, but I cannot overemphasize the importance of healthy microbiome. That's your intestines, bacteria. They've got to work for you. They're not working for you, you're going to get bloated, you're going to feel gassy, and you're going to have irregular bowel movements. Your ability to eliminate gets affected, and your digestion. So the probiotics. So this is the one I take. The probiotics, we give this to our patients. It's got lactobacillus acidophilus and lactobifidus, and it's very bioactive. A lot of probiotics I mentioned in the past, their DOA, dead on arrival. So a lot of the bacteria are not bioactive, but we feed our product with prebiotics, and the products have been tested to be highly bioactive. So I take it every day. I've taken it for quite a while now, and certainly many of our patients have also had great experience with it. Just reducing a lot of the digestive imbalances that you might experience. And there's one other thing that I actually wanted to talk about, which is a Chinese herb, a Chinese herb called Coptitis. But the active ingredient that had been discovered is called berberine. And berberine is, so we have this berberine product here. It's got incredible properties to lower your blood sugar and rebalance your insulin, and lower your insulin resistance. So that what that means is when you have insulin resistance is when you eat, your pancreas is triggered to produce insulin, so it releases insulin. Insulin is supposed to cause the cells to open their doors and take in the sugar. But because there's a resistance to insulin, the cells don't open their doors. So the sugar floats in the bloodstream, accumulates, and at some level that's too high, the body goes, whoop, too much sugar, let's convert that to fat. So then it just keeps packing on the fat. So you keep making more fat with every bite of food you eat, but none of it's getting to your cells, and your cells are hungry, and they keep sending signals to the brain and say, send me food. And so the brain just keeps eat more, eat more, eat more, but yet it's just converting to fat and not feeding your body. So I've used this successfully as well. I've in some other shows I've talked about how my blood sugar was going up and I was developing pre-diabetes, and I was very concerned for myself. Obviously, as doctors, we all know how serious it is. I mean, you don't want to have diabetes, trust me. It's disastrous. You lose your eyesight, you lose your toes because you develop neuropathy and then kidney disease. So no, none of that. But I was able to successfully reverse that with, again, my weight loss, as well as taking the right herbs, including berberine, and exercise, and just managing stress. So again, a lot of information, but it comes down to this. Look, if you're not healthy, and if your internal organ system is sluggish, such as low thyroid, low metabolism, hormonal imbalance, whatever it might be, insulin resistance, you got to take care of these problems, because they're going to get in your way of you achieving your goal, which is to help lower your weight in a healthy, sustainable manner, and getting to that weight wellness, as opposed to I need to lose 30 pounds to fit into my outfit. No, it's not about that. It's about getting you healthy and well.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mel. I was thinking maybe because you shared so much wonderful information and people have been writing in questions, and we have quite a few questions to review. How do you feel if we start jumping in those? And maybe we'll do it. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay,
let's do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So first question is, if someone has Hashimoto's disease where the body is allergic to its thyroid, would it be okay to take the Metabolism Boost?
That's an excellent question. So Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition. Your own immune system has turned against your thyroid and it's pummeling it. So initially, there is a hyperactive state. People kind of get a little hyper, metabolism burning too fast. And then what it does is it then suppresses the function. So it goes the other way and becomes hypo. And that's when people start to see, oh my God, I'm gaining weight, or I can't lose the weight. And in this case, absolutely. Metabolism Boost, remember now, it does not contain any hormones whatsoever, natural or synthetic, right? Because all these glands have been filtered out. So these are extracts of these thyroid tissue. Like I said, they're from organic New Zealand grass grazing. I always like to say happy cows, because I think they're happier cows than the cows are sitting in the pen with no room to move, right? So So they're happier, and happier cows have less stress hormones and or no stress hormones. So you don't want to, eat anything from a cow that's stressed out. So it's absolutely safe, and it supports the rebuilding of your thyroid. Now, what you need to do if you have Hashimoto's, you need to also take care of the autoimmune part of it. That's inflammation. So that's another thing you think about. It's like, oh, what can I do to reduce inflammation? Well, so we know that there is a very potent nutrient in our food, right? That's automatically an anti-inflammatory, and that's omega-3 fatty acids. So let's think about sources of food that have high omega-3 fatty acids. For example, well, we talk about fish, we know that, but it's actually not fish, guys. It's the fish has to eat the algae and the seaweed in order to get it, because farm-raised fish does not have omega-3 fatty acids. See?
Wow.
So you go
so
to the source.
Examples of the right type of wild fish to eat then?
Well, I mean, the common things are, salmon, and but sardines are even better. But if you are plant-based, like I'm advocating a little bit, right? Do more plant-based, then what you should be doing is you should be eating seaweed. So now you go to the store, you buy these nori snack seaweed, right? They're in small sheets like this. They're toasted, and they're delicious. And actually, I use these things to wrap a little burrito of vegetables and quinoa and other things, and I make these little taco burrito with it. By the way, they have very high omega-3 fatty acid content, because that's where it comes from. It comes from sea vegetables, okay? Seaweed, algae, sea vegetables, so omega-3. What are the other sources of omega-3 fatty acids? Flax seeds, very rich in omega-3s. Hemp seeds, okay? Walnuts. So again, nature has endowed in chia seeds and a number of other seeds. So seeds and sea vegetables are rich with omega-3 fatty acids. So that's what you can do to help improve the inflammatory attack of your immune system on the thyroid. And so that'll be also helpful too.
Okay, thank you. Next question, actually going back to diet, you were just describing how you're doing the role. Can you walk through, you were mentioning the case study you did with him. Can you walk through a day of a meal plan, essentially? So I think they're looking for like a plant-based meal plan. What would you eat in a day?
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. And it so happened that this guy was, he's quite a good cook. And so we actually talked about and collaborated on like, okay, what does a menu plan looks like, right? And so a typical menu plan would be breakfast, oatmeal with some pine nuts in it, toasted pine nuts, and with almond milk, for example. That would be a great way to start. And let's say if you decide, I like to have some, animal protein, so what can I have? Well, then you can have a egg white frittata. So you got vegetables. Let's say you take spinach and you take celery, carrots, and you julienne some peppers and so forth. You stir fry that, and then you wrap it in an omelet, right? An egg white omelet. So that would be a fantastic way to start your morning. Okay, so that's. And then mid-morning snack. Now, the key to a successful, metabolism is to actually eat 5 little meals a day, as opposed to starve yourself. I know there's a lot of good properties from intermittent fasting, where people are kind of doing a 14 to 16 hour, even 18-hour fast. But you have to be careful, because sometimes that could backfire, and you could start gaining weight if you don't eat until noontime. So I don't suggest that you wait until noontime, but rather maybe you can do the intermittent fast and eat at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning to start with. But anyway, so mid-morning, let's say you start your breakfast at 7, by 10 o'clock, you should eat something. because the key to snack is that you want to keep your blood sugar even so it doesn't dip. When it starts dipping, that's when the behavior comes, because when the body is hungry, it wants to eat whatever is in front of it. That's a survival instinct. So you don't want to get to that place. And you don't want to get to lunch or dinner where you're famished, and that's when you overeat. And so to prevent that, you eat a snack. And so mid-morning snack can be, I make a homemade hummus, and and then I cut up some jicama, cucumber, and celery sticks, and then I eat that. So this is what I gave this patient, and he followed it pretty much to a T. But he's a gourmet, so he would sort of bake some sweet potato chips, kale chips, and then he would eat that with his hummus, homemade hummus as well. He wasn't a big fan of vegetables, but anyway, so you get the point. You can do that. He also did frozen banana, and then just to top it with dark chocolate sauce, sugar-free chocolate sauce. And because banana is already very sweet, you don't really need to have. So and he would actually dip the banana and then freeze it, and then he would eat it. And so one day he brought me one, and it was really quite good, I have to say. And it tasted like ice cream because it was frozen, right? But if you think about it, it's like, so cacao sauce, right? This dark chocolate sauce, but virtually no calorie. Well, there's some calorie, but there's no sugar at all, right? And because it's 100% cacao, there's no milk fat, there's no solids, and there's no, very little fat in there. And so he dipped a whole banana in it, and then he put it in the freezer. So really, it was like quite a guilt-free snack, I would say, and dessert if you want. So moving on, lunch. So what he cooked up, and it's just, I give him a menu and he plays with it, right? So I remember him telling me what he had for lunch one day, and it sounded really gourmet. So he took a kabocha squash, cut in half, and then scraped the seeds out, and he stuffed it with quinoa and toasted almonds, and chopped up watercress. Water chestnut, and let's see what else he had in there. Shiitake mushrooms, and soken tofu. And he put it all, he stuffed it, he baked it, and that's what he had for lunch. And it was, according to him, it really was very filling. But because he also had a snack mid-morning, it completely was so satisfying to him. And then by 3-4 in the afternoon, he's out on the prowl looking for a snack, right? And that's what highly encouraged, right? So I told him, okay, get some coconut yogurt that is sugar-free, and then you can put all kinds of berries. In other words, you use that as a kind of a parfait, and you can throw berries, other fruits in there, and you can. And then what he did was he made some homemade granola that was sugar-free. He had we talked about substituting with monk fruit extract and stevia and so forth, and occasionally a little coconut sugar. I was able to make this nice granola, put it on top, and then so he ate that for the afternoon snack. And come dinner, again, you've had the snack, you're not famished, you're not hungry, so your portion is going to be smaller as well. And so now evenings, I always advocate soups, cook up soups, these hearty soups. And so you can use mushroom. I use mushroom and vegetable stock in my soup, but I have all kinds of vegetables in there. And I like root vegetables, and yams and sweet potato, purple yam. I have turnip. I have rutabaga. I have different root vegetables, carrots, and then of course celery, and spice it up. And I like curry for that. So I use a curry base, and so we exchange some really good curries recipes. So and I put it in a slow cooker. I also now own an instant pot, and so I can literally make this thing in a half an hour, you know. And but a slow cooker, I put it on when I leave in the morning, and by evening when I get home, I've got dinner piping hot, ready to go. And I don't need to eat anything with it, because these root vegetables already have plenty of starch, you know, carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates, that I don't need to do anything. And so just a soup fills me up. And because I already had a snack before I came home from work, I am very satisfied. And so for my patient, he was able to achieve literally 30 pounds. So that he literally was able to, in 3 months, knock off 30 pounds. It was very impressive. But if you think about it, that's 10 pounds a month. And if you think about it further, right, it's not a lot. We're talking about like 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds a week, right? And it's if you're, again, picking up the metabolism, so you're metabolizing properly, and the diet is filling but low calorie. That's another key, right? So you're not you're burning it off. You're active. You know, I got him to ride his bike 1 hour a day, and that was it. That was all his exercise. He went to the gym a couple times a week to just kind of tone, but most of his exercise came from the cardio, from the bicycle. And so with that combination, he lost 30 pounds. He was on his way to making the 50-pound mark when in January, Robert came on the show, talk about weight loss. Right. And after he watched the episode, he goes, you know, I'm resentful that you didn't recruit me to go on the show. And I said, well, I'll get you on a future show, but I mean, you know, you lost less weight than he did, so I'm sorry. He won that round. So.
That's fantastic. Well, we will definitely have him on another show before the end of the year. Okay, you have a lot more questions to go, so we're going to speed this up. I'm going to do this one first because you just touched on it and wanted to see if you have anything else. She was asking, what about intermittent fasting? Does that work? So you talked about that already now. Is there anything you want to add to that, knowing that you...
Well, so intermittent fasting, so people need to understand what that means. So intermittent fasting is, as the term implies, right? You do it, you don't do it every day, but you do it, let's say you take a weekend. And, you know, so you don't eat. So intermittent fasting, you want to fast, let's say for 14 hours or 16 hours. So that means if you're fasting 16 hours, your eating time is 8 hours, within 8 hours. So you have to figure this out. Like, okay, if my dinner's at 7, that means the earliest I can eat is 11, right? Because that's 8 hours right there. And the rest of the time, I don't eat anything. I just drink water. And that's called fasting. And if you did this only on weekends, it's so intermittently, and then during the week it's different, that's called intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is to reset your metabolism sometimes, so that your body can burn more efficiently and so forth. And there's good science behind it, and it does work. And so if that's something that you want to try, start on a weekend, and then so that, you know, literally what ends up happening is you skip one meal, right? Because if you start eating at 11, you know, and then you end at 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., you only have so much stomach to stomach the food. So you end up eating a lot less. And then during the fasting period, your body has to really kind of, you know, metabolize in a very efficient way. So you can try that, and it does work. But if you're going to do it every day, then you have to be careful that it might backfire on you, that over time you might slow down your metabolism.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered your question. Next question for you. What if you have levothyroxine for years? What do you recommend? So this individual has levothyroxine.
Yeah, so levothyroxine. So it's a hormone that they've been taking for the thyroid condition. And so, all right, you've been medicated for a long time. Your body is dependent on it. You can't get off it. If you get off it, you're going to gain a bunch of weight. So it's going to be even worse. The key, though, is to figure out where are you in terms of the testing. So go back and look at your TSH, T3, T4. And then, and then you need to kind of figure out, well, are you in the sweet spot? And that sweet spot, it's got to be, in the optimal range. Discuss it with your doctor or call me and I'm happy to walk you through it. And then if you're not, then you have two choices. One is to obviously adjust the medication. And the other is to stimulate your own thyroid production, your own body's ability to produce. Now, if you had your thyroid removed, there's no way you can produce any. So I'm sorry, you'll have to take medication for life. But most people's thyroid are still intact. And so that we can still help stimulate the production and the function. So that's the key is working to restore some of the function, thereby reduce the medication a little bit at a time until maybe eventually you can go off it completely. But you need to work with a professional with that, right? You need to work with a doctor. You can call me. We're very familiar with this condition and we can help you.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that was answered appropriately for you. Next question. Does HRT affect weight gain for women? My doctor increased my T cream levels and I have noticed putting on muscle mass, but also a new layer of blubber. Thank you.
So, you know what? It's quite interesting, right? So hormonal replacement therapy. Nowadays, you get this HRT. Oh no, it's not what it used to be. It's bioidentical. It's made from yam. It's made from soy. It's perfectly safe. Actually not. You have to be very careful. My next book, which I'll be talking about more in-depthly in future shows, is on cancer. And I will tell you that there have been many patients who come in here. They've been on bioidentical hormones for a year and a half through menopause. And they have maybe a family history or no history, doesn't matter now. And they find a little lump and it turns out they have breast cancer and it's ER positive. It means estrogen receptor positive cancer. It's devastating. And so what caused it? Well, their OB or GYN who gave them this HRT will never say that, well, it's caused by that, but hormones are hormones. So you somehow increase your estrogen and there you have the cancer. So that's really unfortunate. So I tell people, be very careful. If you're going to be on it for a short period of time, get rid of the hot flashes, whatever suffering your symptoms that you're having, but then go off it, right? Don't go on it long term. It's an issue. Secondly, again, as hormonal replacement implies, at some point you become dependent. You don't want to become dependent on anything. You want to get your body's function restored. You want, aging is because the body function is declining. So let's get it back up so you can produce what you need. And your body's intelligent, so it knows how much to produce and not producing too much to cause cancer. So does HRT cause weight gain? Sometimes it does because, estrogen will pack on the fat and testosterone will increase your muscle mass. So here you are going to the gym, working out, and you're starting to see some definition. Hey, this is looking pretty good. I feel pretty strong. I'm firming and all that. But, you're going to notice that you've got a little bit more of a padding with a bigger muscle mass. And the sad thing about this whole thing is that here's my caution to you. Don't go building big muscles, because if you do, and then you stop going to the gym and doing the weights and all that muscle eventually will turn to fat. Now you're going to have to lose it. So my suggestion for you, and you can do whatever you want, but ideally, right, you should be tone the muscles.
So you get rid of this kind of drooping thing that everybody complains about, right? So that this no longer droops. So you want to tone so that you look good and you have strength, but not bulk. You don't want bulk. And so be careful when you start medicating with hormones, is that you are going to get padding and you get bulk.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that helped for you in your question. Did you feel something just changed in the sound?
You know what? I think, let me see.
We have one more question, so I just want to be able to get through this final question.
Now, let's make sure. Is this okay? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe speak just a little bit louder, but it does sound like something changed.
Okay, yeah. That's,
there we go.
So is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I want to make sure that you can hear me. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so our final question. Is it overkill to start taking B-Slim and Metabolism Boost together, especially if you are already taking Adrenal Boost and Sugar Leveler? There's more. That's the first part. And then which are most critical to move things forward, especially if you are a bit older? P.S. I am also pre-diabetic.
Okay, so well, that's an important. These are important facts to know. Well, metabolism. So each of these that you're taking, they function in a different way, right? So, for example, adding Metabolism Boost is specifically working to support your metabolic rate, speed it up, get it to an optimal sweet spot level. And the B-Slim is appetite control and helping you with, also supports the metabolism, but more, appetite regulation, which is very good. You're on Sugar Leveler, which helps you with your insulin resistance, and that obviously is something you need to be concerned about, being pre-diabetic. And so these can all be used concurrently, and not overkill. The adrenal support, obviously, if you're under a lot of stress, one of the problem, right, is that if you release a lot of cortisol, which happens when you're under a lot of stress, that cortisol packs on the fat around the belly, which in turn predispose you to diabetes, heart disease, and all kinds of issues. And so the adrenal support is to help to get the adrenals off this constant pumping of cortisol, right? So it really helps to restore and tone that function and get you off the survival mode. And so again, these are all distinctly different formulations that have specific intent on your body. So again, there's no problem taking them concurrently, but the most important thing I want to emphasize is that you still really need to make sure that you eat well. And we talked about the diet already, the eating part. Make sure you are active physically. So you get out and you walk your 10,000 steps, or you go for a jog, or you bike, whatever it might be. You really need to stay active physically, right? And third, of course, manage your stress effectively by meditating, spending time with family and friends, talk, journal. There are many things that you can do, activities you can engage in that can help you. And then ultimately you have to be accountable and find a friend, find a doctor. I think, our success, one of the key ingredients to our success in helping our patients lose 50 pounds, let's say, for example, is we have them come in every week and we weigh them. And then if we don't get the results, we shame them.
Oh, no.
I know. It sounds terrible, but it works. We're like the best cheerleader when you lose your pound to 2 a week. And we go, yay, there's celebration, so forth. And if you gain 1 or 2 pounds, you'll be talked to. And so this is why you want to find someone who will hold you accountable, because it's hard to hold yourself accountable. So it could be your spouse, your partner, your coworker at work. It could be your other family members or friends, but and then give that person the power to really just hold you accountable, weigh you in, or you send them your what it says on the scale. Again, I don't want people to get overly focused on the scale because we're really talking about weight wellness, right?
Right.
So it may not be as important to lose 30 pounds than for you to feel at your best. And being me at your best may be 20 pounds lighter, right? And not 30 pounds lighter. And the 30 pounds lighter is to fit into the clothes, but the 20 pounds lighter is to really be healthy, right? And that's what we need to emphasize. But the scale does help us measure our progress, because if you're making progress and your body's healthier and you're functioning at a higher level, you should be losing the weight appropriately, right? And that's why we use the your weight as a way to measure, but it's not the finite, be all end all. It's really a evolutionary process of getting healthy. So ultimately, really focusing on what makes me feel good, and it is to incorporate all these healthy activities and eating habits. That's really ultimately what you need to focus on.
Thank you. Dr. Mel, we are coming on the hour, so it is time to wrap up. Do you have any other wisdom you'd like to share with us for the evening?
Well, I mean, I think I've said it all, and people have asked all the questions. And so the parting words is that, I have met lots of people in my, career, and those who are most successful are those who are positive, optimistic, and self-encouraging, and not those who self-sabotage and put themselves down. So in other words, it's just as important that you have the confidence to know that you can do it because you're committed to your health and wellness goals, and that this is a process. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's not about being perfect. It's really just every day, do a little bit more, and, make that progress. And it's okay if you don't hit it today, but just keep at it, because eventually you'll get there and you'll feel great. I mean, that's the reward ultimately, is that your cholesterol's down, your blood sugar's down, you're slimmer, you have more energy, your brain is working, it's sharp, and you feel happy, peaceful. Again, it's a whole package, right? I mean, we don't want you to be anorexic and looking and depressed. That's not what we're about. It's really about health and wellness, and living your best life and living your best potential. And that's really what I wish for all of you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mel. It's so wonderful to have you back with us, and just a wonderful episode overall. So I hope that our audience has enjoyed this. We thank you for your questions. That was a lot of questions tonight, and that makes us happy. We love being able to engage with you all. We are going to be back with our next wellness chat on the 13th of June, and that will be Women's Wellness with Dr. Dow. And this is going to be a topic of curiosity. It is actually one of the most curious topics that women have come to us with, which is about HPV. So if you don't know what it is, I'm teasing you with it, and I want you to go look for yourself. But we are going to be talking about HPV and should you worry about this. So we will be with you on June 13th at 5:15 to 6:15. And then later in the month, we will have the healing hour, and we will be talking about 5 health issues men shouldn't ignore. That's going to take place on the 26th. And also sandwiched in between, we have the Tao of Life telestudy group with Dr. Dow. So if you are interested in joining that group, they will be meeting on June 20th. from 5:30 to 6:30. So we hope you enjoy the events for June. If you haven't read your June newsletters, those are sitting in your inboxes already. They went out a couple of days ago. And if you have any further questions, always feel welcome to send them to marketing@infinici.com, and I will pass them to the appropriate doctor that you would like to ask the question to, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you again, Dr. Mao. Have a great evening.
My pleasure.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.